Hey, what's up guys? June here. In today's video, we're going over the week of November 15th, 2021. This week finished up on 1.03 handles, took about 8 trades. Some were decent, some the stop could have been better, and others the idea, in hindsight, doesn't really work out. So let's go over it. First trade is in the Russell. I'm following this larger blue swing right here. I noticed this kind of press in terms of where it is in the swing. It's actually right before it, so it's kind of the pressure cooker. Although it did start the move up here. Anyways, this was good enough for me. Uh, in fact, uh, I was looking at this red line, and anything here with the projected swing, or at least this is a confirmed, so a repeat behavior, looking to continue the idea. So this is a pure standard idea. Regardless, I was following the immediate swing or the immediate momentum through these red lines or these red swings. This was a nice little pop, bounced, came back, keep going. I'm like, all right, sure. And then as soon as it broke this green line, or rather it broke this red swing, not necessarily it broke. I mean, look, the green line is the green line. But more importantly, it broke the repeating pattern. So this was a change in behavior. I tried to get in right here. In fact, my entry was about here. Entry to go short with a stop. I wanted to get a stop above this guy. So that was why I was playing a tad higher, because the stop wasn't going to work out. I was already, kind of past my actual risk target, which would be 0.5%. Regardless, it didn't come in and hit my entry. That sucks. However, I decided, okay, well, this is a swap press, and I tried to enter on this one, and it just didn't work out. Now, argumentatively, we can argue that, you know what, this ledge here is fine, and this press here is fine as well, but this is not a significant press. Why? Well, this is the repeated behavior right here, the reds. And what was the change in behavior? It was right here. It was this gap retest, right? So in theory, it's better to pull off of this guy right here. Something like this, or at least have the stop behind here. Maybe I'm using the press for something to lean on. Entry would be a bit higher, stop behind here. In this case, I was just doubling out the press. So the problem with this idea overall, at least in hindsight, this press isn't super significant because the change in behavior started right here. If it did a press, I don't know, let's say if it did a press here, although it's bar level, but you can still see a press on the bar level regardless. If it extended from there, then yeah, we can use the press. In this case, it's the pressure cooker or the change in behavior. Over here, we already knocked below. So, this would be more like maybe something to break, in terms of pressing, something to break, something to fall into. So it's breaking the press, landing into here, or maybe it does a wash. Regardless, I think a good idea or a good short somewhere up here could be in the cards. Unfortunately, this continued going up, but overall, I think a short is deserved somewhere along this kind of level. Didn't work out. On to the next trade. The next trade is along in the ES, the micro ES. All right, so I'm following these green swings. I consider this the confirmed major, or at least the blue is the confirmed minor, and it expanded into the major. Over here, I did note a gap swap short con and a gap swap long con. Now, where is this coming from? Well, right over here, right, we have a minor flow, minor, expands into the major, and the blue was confirmed. Okay, so the minors were confirmed, right? The minors, it's confirmed here, confirmed here. The green at this point is not confirmed. It confirms itself up here. I'm like, okay. Now, is it a repeated behavior yet? No. So that's something to note. That's going to come in a later trade. However, for this one, it works. Gap returns to the gap. So this is the change in behavior I'm talking about. Now, will it come off of it? No, it didn't. All right, fine. Zoom, retest. I believe I was trying to look for a long here. Didn't come to it. Or I was considering a long here rather, based more on this guy. Instead, it did the blue. Fine. No stress. It expanded and came back. So this is the idea of a short con into long con. You can think about this as a minor push and a major push just based on the gap. So that's where that idea was coming from. In terms of entries, the entry's fine. However, the stop, as I pointed out in retrospect, the gap swap idea ends with the gap swap long con, so this area, getting zoomed. So once this gets zoomed, then the idea is over. Not necessarily when this does a double bottom. Why? Why is a double bottom fine? Well, remember, this is kind of counter-directional. It's an expansion. It can double bottom, right? When something's expanding, it can double bottom. At least that's, as time goes on, I'm noticing more and more. I'm not 100% on that idea, but when something's expanding, a bit more of a stop. Whereas if it's just, a regular flow. Now, what's a regular flow? A regular flow is something like this. Look, extension, or rather impulse, retrace, or impulse, reaction. So this is boom, boom. There's no minors in between, or rather there's no swings. So at this point, you can't say that this is necessarily a major or minor. You just say, well, I'm following this blue swing. Whereas here, we do have relative to how the market's swinging. So in this case, we do have minors, and I'm looking at a major play. So that's where that comes in. Anyways, I decided to take the re-entry, and this was fine. Sucks that I lost. Could I reduce the stop? Or the management could have been better? No, not really. I mean, could I reduce stop? Sure. But I don't know. It's not something I reduce stop on for this type. I like holding the stop. Maybe I could have brought it up to, say, here, as the double bottom has been confirmed. So it can't go lower if I'm looking for an entry. Albeit if I'm looking for an entry right here, I'd put my stop somewhere down here. So hard to tell in this one spot or this one situation. Regardless, how did I play it? Well, I consider this kind of an expansion of this, right? So we have these swings here, swing, comes here, tried, boom, expand, and then I saw this. I decided this is an effort reverse. This is quite more on the bar side, and it's not the greatest of right side entries, I'll give you that much. However, the context was there, and the initial trade right here, I didn't give enough of a stop. So even if I were to enter on some random bar, as long as my stop's under here, fine. So that was the idea behind that trade. Looking for either a measured move. So if I measure this, I was pulling off of here because that's where the move started. So, somewhere here, look, that's where the green line is, and perhaps something along the upper medium line if it comes to it. The market said no, unfortunately, and that's when things get a little shaky. Now this was more of the ITE idea that I'm coming across. Oh, by the way, I did come up with an additional metric, and that is the proper or appropriate idea metric. This can be seen as idea or context based. So it's not super concrete yet, but if the idea was there, you can have a rubbish trade or like one so-so. If the idea is there, then it's fine. You gotta be loose with these terms. Can't be too structured with it, unfortunately. Anyways, I find the idea wasn't here. As time goes on, I'm figuring out what the ITE idea consists of. Again, the ITE idea is the initial trade for the expansion idea. So you have a repeated behavior, and it stops doing that repeated behavior, and we're looking for an expansion. In this case, the ITE idea was based on the blue swing. Now that's great and all, but you hear the fact check. This repeated once. or this happened once. Did it repeat again? No. So I'm banking off of something that hasn't repeated yet. That's the problem. So that's the problem I see with this trade and this idea. In terms of like entry stop is fine if this was a valid ITE, because all the way up here, and this is changing behavior, so it just got zoomed hard. So in this case, I did put a question mark for the idea. However, I decided that, you know what, nah, no good. So this goes into the category of trades with not appropriate idea or context. Nice one line balance though. Zoom. This is more of a kind of an expansion. I don't know. The markets are getting really spooky out there. This week is actually Thanksgiving week. The week I'm recording this at least, and I'm not trading. Well, I'm paying attention, taking sim trades, but I'm not trading live this week. Low liquidity and whatnot. All right. All right, along in the MNQ, this is pretty good. Afterwards, we're going to have a good idea behind this trade and process over here. But anyways, so what's happening? Here, the major is not repeated. Notice how I'm marking that. Mine repeated, so it happened here once, happened here twice. Expansion, so it flinged up. That's generally speaking a first sign of a change in behavior, because, well, instead of coming here, well, the change of behavior to boom, it comes all the way here. Like, okay, this is a big ass V. It was stepping up right here. Okay, stepped up here, stepped up here. You would want to see it step up from here. It didn't. Instead, it went like this. And what's happening here? So this is a two gap structure, or how am I reading it? So gap. Okay, no, actually, I was seeing this more of an expansion, I believe. Yeah, an expansion idea. Yeah, it's right here. So what else? All right, so this is my something to break, something to land into. Seeing this as an expansion. So if I take the blue, so this is the problem with this trade. Oops. Let's say if I'm taking this here and about here, so it's coming into here, so this expansion of the minor, the blue is so close to the major, or the minor, really. It's like they're so close. I was looking at an expansion of that. That's how I was seeing the market. Something to break, zooms back, and re-entered here. Now the reason why the stop is behind the ultimate low is because it didn't knock out this guy, it knocked out this, which is kind of a gap slide, so it's more of a type 3, as noted right here. So that's why that. However, could be a backside entry right here because it didn't work. I don't think I took it though. Yeah, I see it came back. This was my long, boom, came back to where I entered, continued. All right. So this is a continuation of this entire progression, right? So we got the blue swings right here. Fine. Expanding far out from it. So first sign of the CIB. Like, all right, well, the blue swing lines up here. It wouldn't be out of the ordinary for it to kind of go from there, right? It kind of stretched here, so it can kind of, overshoot, undershoot would make sense. Right here, I'm expecting a continuation. Do note how this lower low is not very significant. This low compared to this low is much lower. Same with this one. Here is not. So you're like, okay, let's see what happens. Boom, 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 boom. Ooh, didn't show up. And then from here, and this was just in terms of thinking, okay, what could be an entry? Consider this a wash I consider this a level to wash. So this came down, boom, zoomed up, entered, stopped behind here. This road a bit of emotional capital, was a little tight, but regardless, took it to the gap. Everything good. Notice how last week I noted how there was an expansion and I took a short, basically would be right here for the continuation. However, this is a change in behavior right here. This is where buyers took over, or this is where controlling buyers are. Did they break them? No. All right, zoom. They showed up. That's the idea. Nice 3.5 handles. This was early in the week. So keep in mind, most of my winners, or my 2 winners, were early in the week. So I had more confidence to keep on pushing the envelope. Didn't quite work out, but that's that. So everything was good. Targeted the gap. Seemed like a logical gap. It did continue from here. Did it break this? No, it didn't. So notice how my stop was, even though I took profit, this is where I moved up my stop. By the time it moved up to here, I believe, notice how it came down. Ooh, not quite. And this is just basically based on, like, it stalled here a bit. And it continued. Fine. That's all right. Got my 3.5. I'm good with that. Next trade. Okay, so this was what I was alluding to. Damn it. This is what I was alluding to right over here. So remember this. Recall this kind of area. That's right here. So this is minor repeated for sign. All right. Can it go? Can it go? Can it go? So the IT idea is a repeated behavior, a break of said repeated behavior, then the entry is some sort of swap. It could be the swap of maybe this. So perhaps the target is somewhere down here instead of this guy. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. It depends the RVR, of course, but change in behavior. We're going, look, buyers, can they achieve? No swap. Bam. Entry rate here, looking for a break of these guys. So this is a possible ITE idea. Interesting stuff. I'm starting to acclimate to the trades more and more of this type of style, more mean reverting. It's going to take a while, but I'm noticing more and more things. So we'll see how that develops. It did net me a positive trade this week. Okay, so as you may have noticed, it did continue a bit. So again, this is where we're at. This is the continuation of this progression, right? Comes here. Okay. This really sucks because I was looking to get on. My read was really well. So the question behind this idea is, will this hold, right? Will this green area hold right here? It beat the red. All right, fine. Now will it hold over here? It's kind of a 2-gap structure, major and minor. Will it hold? Okay, it's doing this. Not too sure what's going to happen. Boom, 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 zoom. Okay, so this doesn't hold. Now my bias turns towards the upside. I'm looking at it. Okay. I consider this kind of one-line balance, return to it. Where did they say no from? From this press structure right here, which is actually a pressure cooker. Why is it a pressure cooker? Because it broke. This is a pressure cooker that broke into new highs, that said no, that's significant. That's the difference between a press that's just in thin air, between a press that is significant. So perhaps pressure cookers can be left side entries, whereas presses can be more right side entries. So that's something I'm going to note. Or do I put it as a question? I'll just say, do pressure cookers lend themselves to right side entries? To left side entries over left side entries over right side entries? Question mark. A press in thin air is just that. A press in thin air. A PC, pressure cooker for short, is a significant, I'll fix that in post, significant, say event, ... controlling sellers / buyers. All right, so that's the comment. Could this been left side entry? I was thinking about it. However, my stop would have to be two, I don't know, 2 times the press structure. So it would be there, and I don't think the RVR worked out. Could this be? Okay, so this was the other analysis I was looking at for the right side entry, given the left side entry didn't work out for me in the way I was mapping it. I followed this press. What happened? They came here, they knocked at the door. They said no momentarily, then it got zoomed. This is kind of the question I'm asking. Well, this can be seen as a gap, right? It could be a gap or it can be a press. But what's the point of tuning into this for a right side entry? Well, we're looking for something significant. So this is a pressure cooker in the sense that it made a new low, right? We know this is significant. Boom, right? It achieved relative to this pivot here. It made a new low. Great. So we know controlling is here. Well, right side entry is effort reversed. Now, how that comes about is in different forms. In this case, I was tuning into the press. Could this be considered more of a gap? Or could I tune into more of the gap over here? If I'm tuning more into the gap, what's happening? Let's see if I can... Okay, what's happening? Well, it banged up and it got zoomed. Now, did it come all the way up here and then retrace here? Whoops. So, meaning, did it make any spacing? No. But if I consider the alternative, which would be a gap, it made spacing relative to the gap. And what happened here? These guys, sellers who showed up, so whoever was here did show up, they got zoomed. So the question is, was that enough for effort reversed? Maybe. So that's something to marinate on for a while. I'll start taking these longs, these situations long, given that there's a zoom, because that's what we're looking for. We're looking, who cares what price did in the past? We're looking at what is price doing now, right? Yeah, we can draw off of this. We can also draw off of this, but the quality of the move is what we're looking for. In this case, zoom, and not just random zoom, because here's the kicker, right? If it did this move, just like that, and it came back, would I be making the same observations? As in, would I be saying, well, this could be a gap swap? I don't know, because this for me is the press. There's not enough spacing here, right? There's not enough relative to the press. Because we got a little bit of a confirmation of sellers present and then sellers zoomed, this is what leads me towards the gap over the press. Not just because it came all the way up here and I could curve fit it more easily by considering this a gap swap. It's because sellers showed up, then there's a swap. So the comment would be right side entries, look at the quality of the move. Did sellers, buyers get zoomed? Was there any new information to tell where was there a fresh pivot that got zoomed? Press versus gap. All right. So that's interesting. We'll see over time how that plays out, but that's the difference there. We see sellers show up, zoom, retest. Whereas we could zoom from there, yeah, but the press takes precedent. At least right now, it takes precedent, right? But the fact that there was a little bit of a blip, sellers showed up, then got zoomed, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe it was the gap swap then. Maybe. We'll see if I'm curve fitting that, but I think that analysis is sound though. All right, so this is a perfect breakout range idea. Very simple. This is the MNQ breakout ranges. The breakout range idea is great. It's a sort of form of an ITE idea in the sense that this is the continued behavior, right? You know, it's ranging. Zoom out of the range, change in behavior, comes back, swap, whatever you want. In this case, the left side entry and with a stop. Stop's kind of odd. So this had to be a right side entry for sure. Bam, it was perfect. Look at that. Oh, I just entered on the tick. Ooh, went through the entry by a tick and went to target. It continued much higher, but this is where I took my profits, 3.5, no problem. So the NQ is treating me well so far this week. Not often though. So it's interesting how the NQ, you really gotta let things shape up. But that's characteristic of all the markets. You gotta let it shape up. Then you can start making some additional or even some fancy trades, because you try to trade into here, you really gotta let the markets build up, let me tell you. So, well, it's pretty simple, really. It's, Zoom, we have some people, some late buyers, they get crushed. All right. Then we have a repeated behavior right here, right? Look. So again, these ideas kind of all go into each other. It's depending where it is in the swing, what's the context, yada yada. Because you could play for a short con up here if you want, but no. It came here, zoom. We have a nice zoom. I didn't consider this enough spacing, but this is enough spacing. Then I saw this, I'm like, oh, something break, something line into. Beautiful. Mwah. And press. At this point, I'm like, okay, it's good. Went to target. This was a little nerve-wracking. I'm just watching it. Once it made this move here, I'm like, it really broke it, because this is just little pokes. I'm like, okay, well, it's going to poke multiple times. Could be a press in progress, whatever the case. Maybe, believe it was, but did it react? It may have reacted. I don't know. But that's where my stop was. Good stop management. Can't complain. Double range, strong impulse. Everything for the idea. Oh, yes, I was playing a bit of in the lower. So right over here, right? I was trying to get in just a tad lower. It just missed me. I thought about entering there, but I said nah. It would have net me a few more, but in any case, I had to step up a bit, and that's what I did. So if I had to extrapolate this idea, so what's happening here? Change in behavior is right here, right? But where my entry, I'm using this gap swap. It's a little higher, sure, but where's the stop? It's behind the change in behavior, which is right here, right? It comes all the way down here. Okay, this is where I wanted to find. If it goes to here, I'm like, okay, I'm screwed. But relate that to this trade here, right? Very similar. Change in behavior right here. Okay, fine. I'm entering on a swap a bit lower in the progression. Arguably, entry could be a bit higher, but it wasn't. But where's my stop? Stop's kind of nowhere. It should be up here, man. It really should be up here. If I'm willing to play this low, I have to get a good stop. And to be honest, there's more than enough risk to reward if I'm looking for a measured move. So that's on me, really. So this trade is quite analogous to the breakout range idea on the NQ, right? This is the change in behavior right here. Zoom, arguably could trade it there, but I'm looking for a bit more space. Fine, whatever. But where's my stop? It's behind the change in behavior. So there you go. Here's me just considering, all right, well, what if I entered right here? What if I entered right here? Don't know. If I look here, yeah. When I saw this little bounce, right, it's kind of bounced up. See it open here, so that means it closed here. I know the orange swing is covering it a bit, but it bounced here. That's when I'm like, okay, something to break, right? This came down like here, popped. Some breaks I'm falling to. Because this is really high up on the swing. I want to be a bit lower. Could it go from here? Yeah, but that's how I played it. Oh, this sucked. All right, so this is the breakout range idea, but on a sloped idea. Or more of on a slope. How did I name it? Breakout range-ish. Yeah, the context pulls out, or pulls from, not for, from the breakout range idea, except on a slope rather than a horizontal. Has the characteristics of pure momentum idea as well. So look, boom. Looking for, backside retest of this. Do I have it zoomed out? Oh, no, I do not. Okay, no stress. All right, so what's happening here? Nice zoom. We have some late buyers. They get crushed. We have some sellers. Zoom, retest. Entry right here, doom. I think it was fine. In fact, what ended up happening, it did continue here. It went up. I'm not sure if it poked or made any lower low, but it did this swing. It tried to do this one. If not, it did. So it did this swing right here. Might have did it here. And then I think it went like this. Something like that. Was I looking for an entry? I might have been looking for an entry somewhere here. This is late in the day. I don't recall. I don't think I was. I might have been, but I don't think it returned. No, it didn't. I think it went like that. Then it just went flying up. It never even came back. So this is a possible secondary entry. Was the idea good in the first place? I believe so. This is very quick, as I said, momentum idea, so anything flies. The problem is, I'm looking at the bar level, or more bar level. It's hard. It's hard to switch from bar level to swings, and it's depending on the size. I took the trade, and I think that's it. Because, one can pull off from these swings, or from the last swing broke, right? This last swing broke. Look, it did it right here. Expansion of these little minors. Boom. That's the question you got to ask yourself. See right here what's happening. Yeah, I'm looking at the bar level, but look at the size of the swing. Size of the swing, we're playing within bar level. Whereas here, playing with all this. It's hard to switch from one to another. Same with here. I'm playing more bar level, but look at the size of the swings. We're playing within the bar level. Even here, we're playing with the bar level. Man, trading's hard. Regardless, I took the trade and that's it. I think overall the idea was there. It's just, it didn't work out how I was trying to fit it. All right, guys. That'll be it for today. Hope you enjoyed. Finished up on 1.03 handles. Some ideas were good, some not so good. Some stops, like over here for the ES trade. You know what? I could have just taken one loser on this one. Entry, stop, that's it. Had to take 2 stops for that one. Learned my lesson. Well, hopefully I learned my lesson. And some comments. Well, pressure cookers or presses that make significant moves, maybe they lend themselves to left side entries over right side entries, whereas presses in thin air, okay, right side entry, so that's the idea. And finally, for right side entries, gap, is it a gap swap? Is it a press swap? We'll look at the quality of the move. Was there any fresh pivots that got zooms? Yes, no. Then maybe we can lean a certain direction. So that's why right side entries can't be super exact. You gotta pay attention to what the market's doing. That's the idea. It makes sense. It sounds rational. Now, is it actually true? We'll see over time. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed. Till next week, adios.